Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 4 of Letters to My Mentees. I am glad you all have made it this far and continue wanting to learn about people's different successes in life, their trials and tribulations, and potentially your different career paths you can choose from, and finding your average mentors you can relate to. Today's guest is Kara Bradley. Kara, you want to give a little hi for the people?
Hi, everyone.
And yeah, so she's going to talk about her current life as an aerospace engineer and overcoming some setbacks. But today, we're going to get into our segment, our first segment being the opening wows. So the opening wow of today is Temporary Setbacks Are Overshadowed by Persistence by Quentin L. Cook. I think this exemplifies Kara and a lot of people in the sense that life is fluidly changing. I don't think it's that we make mistakes necessarily. We just make our choices, and those choices come with consequences and they come with benefits. And when we're able to just continually work hard, and not only work hard, but continue to learn and take our own experiences to shift around, make the right choices, we can ultimately get to where we want. And no matter how big or small the setback is, it will only set us back, but we can push forward, far more forward than that. Kara, you have anything to add on that quote?
Let's see. I definitely think that is a great quote because I was thinking about it. I was like, man, I have never heard of that quote before, but it is really good because it's like, sure, like there are setbacks in life, but then it's just like, as long as you continue to, do something about it, not exactly just like, okay, let that stop you from continuing on in life. Just make sure that, you find a way sort of like around it, but it's just like, that just goes to show that there's always another open door where one door closes in front of you. So.
Okay. And so, yeah, that's our opening wow. Again, remember, Temporary Setbacks Are Overshadowed by Persistence by Quentin L. Cook. You can add it to your quote book if you're taking them now. But now we're going to move on to our main segment, being the advising body. So again, I'm going to let the guest, Kara, give herself a more descriptive introduction. So Kara, I'm going to hand it over to you to introduce yourself and who you are and what you do.
Alrighty, thanks, Josh. So again, everyone, my name is Kara Bradley, and currently I am a manufacturing engineer at Boeing in St. Louis, Missouri. And so I work on the F-18 program as a manufacturing engineer, specifically under the production engineering umbrella, which means that I work directly with the people who are on the shop floor who are putting together the assemblies for the different aircrafts. And so I pretty much, if they have any issues with assemblies, or they need help with reading blueprints, or if just something's going wrong, then they'll come to us from an ME standpoint, and then we'll try different ways to, solve their issues so that we can continue with production, so that there won't be any, say, bottlenecks or any holdups on the production line. And so my background, I went to North Carolina A&T State University, and I studied applied engineering technology. And so it's been a little bit interesting, just like the transition from, what you would say, a non-engineering background into an engineering background. And so we might get a little bit into this later, but essentially it's just my major was not considered engineering. And so it took a while for me to be able to get into my current role that I'm in now. And so let's see, what else?
So I'm going to get into, it's funny you say you're a manufacturing engineer, and I just realized I'm about to be doing this in 6 months due to my rotational program. So
yeah,
I'll probably give you a call soon to explain
my
loves, hurdles, negatives, positives, and ask you some questions. But so like Kara said, we have another A&T alum. I will try to mix it up, I know a lot of people, but again, I'm a recent A&T alum, so a lot of them will be coming from there. But yeah, me and Kara met, seeing as she was Kennedy's roommate. So yeah, small world we have here. But I met Kara, Kara was, I'm not going to say shy, but soft spoken at first appearance. That's true. But as you get to know people, they open up, and I think me and Kara, it was funny because Kara has a twin sister,
Mm-hmm.
and it was funny because my roommate at the time was a biological engineer. I'm a mechanical engineer, and her sister was a biological engineer. So, whenever there's two of something, people usually choose one. I'm not trying to spread any dislike towards your sister, but
Oh my
me and Zach
goodness.
decided to, we had to split up. Dara was his favorite twin. You were my
Was
favorite
he? I
twin.
don't know. I don't know. I've heard other things from there, so we're gonna have to see what the situation is.
I'm just saying, look, Kara, we were there going to
We were.
conferences,
I know
talking
that's
about
true.
engineering, like
Yup.
aerospace and mechanical
It
stuff.
was like after midnight sometimes. I would be in the study room and then you just walk by and say, Kara, let's talk about this. And I'm like, all right, let me like close this down. Let me close my books real quick. Let's talk.
Yeah, I think it was a connection that was formed, and even though again we're not the same major percent in college, I think just we were both in honors and we both had STEM fields. We were both in NSB, and I think that allowed us to connect. And so let's get into kind of how did you kind of get into this industry, or like actually let's focus on a little bit more your backstory. So you talk about
Mm-hmm.
being an applied engineer, but were you always interested in aerospace, or like where did this love come from?
Yeah. Okay. So I guess more background about that is so I am a military brat, and so my dad, he was in the army and he would fly helicopters for the army. And so, growing up, I was surrounded by helicopters. Like on the bases, they always had an airport. We always lived closer to the airport than other people did. And so we were there for some of the air shows and like exhibits and stuff. And I think just like the exposure of being around military aircraft all the time, I was like, wow, like this is so cool. And especially nowadays, it's like if I have the opportunity, I would rather fly rather than drive places because I just love flying. I really hate being in a car, but also, okay, so I studied applied engineering technology because I don't know, I was actually going back and forth between applied engineering technology and mechanical engineering. And this was when I was a senior in high school and I still was kind of like fuzzy on what I want to study in college. And so I don't know, I looked up both majors, I compared them, and I was like, I really don't see a difference. But this was before I knew what the difference was. And so I was like, if there's no difference to these majors, then it shouldn't matter which one I choose. And so I just did like a little game of eeny, meeny, miny, mo, back and forth. And I was like, okay, I landed on applied engineering technology. I'm like, okay, I think this is where I'm supposed to be, alphabetical order, applied engineering technology for mechanical engineering. So like, let's go,
So
let's try it.
you don't recommend this for people in the future?
I do not. But I also have to say, like, I did have help in high school for choosing my major, but then it's like I didn't too because my counselor. So I went to two different schools in high school because we moved in between my sophomore and junior year. And so I feel like because of that, it was kind of like, all my academics were just thrown into the air. And I was like, kind of lost because I was used to the schools in the Midwest. And I was like, okay, I'm going to go to Augustana College or like Black Hawk College, whatever. I get to North Carolina. I'm like, what is NC State? What is Duke? What is UNC? I've never heard of these schools before. But yes, do not do what I did and like do not play any me mimo. Definitely, your counselor in school, high school may or may not know much about, engineering depending on what they studied. But if you know of any family members who are who did study what you're interested in or are in the profession, definitely talk to them because I think that was the other challenge is like in my family there aren't many engineers either. Like honestly, it's like Dara and I, my sister, we are the first engineers in the family. And so it's just kind of like we kind of had to just, go with the flow, make our own way, do our own research. my mom studied biology and educations for her master's degree. My dad did music and education for his schooling. And it's just kind of like, they didn't know. They just kept care. Oh yeah, you want to do like engineering? Why don't you study like mechanical engineering at Harvard? And I'm like, yes, but Harvard might not be the best choice for mechanical engineering. And so it was like that back and forth where we weren't really, I guess, exposed to, okay, this is how you choose your major, how you choose what, you're interested in, and like going from there. So that's kind of,
okay. Not to cut you off, but I think what a lot of people kind of can learn or don't really understand is, right, you chose something close. You had a baseline interest, right? You'd always been interested in flight. And I think that's what kind of, if I'm being honest, helped you kind of overcome, like, you may have not chosen the right fit, even though could you explain the difference for people out there? Cause I think I want to give them a little clarification before we get a little further.
Right. Okay. So yeah, so I guess coming up through like middle school, high school, I had also done some summer camps. I guess, okay, one of them in middle school was called like College for Kids. And so I took a model airplane class. I took a Rocket 101 course or something like that. And then I also did some summer camps at Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University down in Daytona Beach, Florida. And so that was kind of like my exposure to like say, okay, yes, this is what I'm interested in. This is what I want to do. Especially when I went to Embry-Riddle, that was like one of the best experiences of my life, because like I did 2 summer camps in one summer. One was about, let's say, I guess, space exploration, and I got to meet an astronaut as well. And the second one was about, flight exploration. And so we got to fly planes, we did simulators, we did helicopter simulator, and we did a whole bunch of stuff. And so definitely I knew like what my interests were, but then it's just kind of like figuring out specifically what I wanted to do. That was like one of the biggest challenges that, I had coming into college. So.
Okay. And then just to clarify, explain the difference between apply or AET and mechanical engineering.
Oh, that's kind of tough. Okay. Because there's a bit of overlap too. So AET, applied engineering technology, that is, I guess it really is more about manufacturing and production engineering. And so we do touch a little bit on like, say, core engineering classes such as material science and others like that. But then it's just like we don't take the engineering courses that most people would take if you were on the engineering side. And so we like to say that we are a little bit more hands-on in AET, because it's like we think of real world problems for us to be able to, we learn some material in class, and then our, I guess, homework would be, you would be able to apply it real life kind of thing. And same thing with mechanical engineering, like there are some real life problems, but then for mechanical engineering, it seems to be a little bit more like conceptual and like, understanding the theories. And so it's like, I've noticed that for studying, it's like, okay, did you understand this concept? And for us, it's like, we do have some concepts, but I don't know, it's kind of like tricky to explain in a way. So, but
yeah. So like the way like my chair explained it to me, or like what you're kind of feeding on is, with you all, you deal with a lot of the day to day and keeping things running. Whereas we're as mechanical in the research realm, I think, not particularly for me, because I'm in a little different position, are dealing with a lot of theory and thought and future problems, as some would say. Neither is more important than the other. They're both needed, but it's just that difference. And let's be honest, where you chose to go and what you studied, I'm not going to say studying in school, gave you a lot of background, but it didn't limit you in any fashion. I think your work ethic and the ability you were to like make your moves got you anywhere. And I don't want to share your whole story, but can we go into like, you did, just like me and just like a lot of other people, did some cool things in your time in youth, because we're in the real world now, but
We are.
in your youth, let's talk about some of the cool things you got to do in college, and like how you were able to seize opportunity no matter what. As long as you had some foundation, you were able to seize opportunity.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's see. Going into my freshman year is kind of like, I don't know. I feel like I was just kind of thrown into college, and I don't know, just a little lost sheep, whatever. But going to the career fair, I was like, okay, career fair, cool. I'll go talk to some companies. I just thought I really didn't understand the concept of a career fair. So I just, talked to some companies and I was like, cool, you got internships? And they're like, no. I'm like, oh, okay, well, see you next year. And so then I go to my sophomore year and I'm like, okay, some of my friends landed some internships. Like, what happened? And, of course it was my resume, because it's like, going into college, it's like I didn't have a lot of work experience, and definitely I was active in different organizations, but then it's like I didn't have any, say, leadership positions. And so freshman year is kind of like, okay, fine, I didn't get an internship, is it's fine. And then sophomore year, I was definitely got some leadership positions, and I didn't have work experience, but I did have some coursework experience. And so, tailored my resume a little bit better than the year before. And then it's like, still didn't get an internship. And I'm just like, what happened? Like, okay, some companies are like, we want you to be a sophomore before you start working for us. I'm like, all right, well, I am a sophomore. Like, what's going on? But it came down to, mostly it's like, I felt that companies didn't really understand what my major was. And so, a lot of people don't know what applied engineering technology is. Some universities have just like applied engineering, but mine was applied engineering technology, and they're like, what is that? And so, I definitely had to go to companies and explain what my major was, and like what kind of internships I can do, or like what I'm interested in. But still, just kind of like, companies didn't know where to place me, because they're mostly looking for like specific majors. And so because of that, went to so many career fairs. It wasn't until about my junior year / senior year is when I started to finally get interviews. And so that was just from, me getting opportunities like throughout, between freshman to junior year, just any opportunity that I could have. So I started to do research within my department. So like, boom, that's work experience, that's research experience. Then I had some projects that what we did was like, it was like competition. So I did a NASA competition. It was like, cool, more work experience and like project experience. Like, that was really relevant. And then what else did I do? So I remember I was really mad about this, but I took it was like, I guess, a co-op in a way, because I was working throughout the semester, and this was during my junior year. I took a co-op unpaid, and so I worked downtown for the county, for Guilford County government, and I was the risk management intern. And I was like, I was just like, I'm only doing this for my resume, just for my resume, just for my resume.
But
like, I need
learn.
the experience. Yes, I did learn some things. I was like, I need the experience. Like, this is really going to like boost my resume. I'm going to go to the career fair and like be really successful after this. I was like, okay, I'm going to go in. I really felt like a grad student, because I had to go into work. I would go into work from like 8 to 11, go to lunch, and then go to class from like 12, and then I had classes all the way up until 9 o'clock at night. I was so upset, but I did it. I was like, fine, whatever it takes for me to just overcome this right now. And so get to I think it was my junior year. It was like after my junior year, during that summer right before my senior year, and I was like, I can't believe I don't have an internship for the summer. And so what I did that summer, I was still taking some summer classes just so I wouldn't be bored, and I could lighten my load for my senior year. And so what I did is like, okay, how do you like write resumes? And so they're like, okay, tailor your resumes to the job that you want. And so I said, okay, so I created like I think 10 plus resumes. So I was looking at mechanical engineering, industrial engineering, production engineering, all types of engineering. I said, okay, I pulled some classes that I had taken. It's like, these fit into these roles. And so whatever resume I was working on, like, those are classes I'm going to put. These are the experiences I'm going to put on it. So I had all these resumes. So anytime that, I was applying to an internship and it said, oh, we need a manufacturing engineer, I was like, all right, pulling my manufacturing engineering resume. Boop, there we go, into the little job application. So I applied to so many internships that summer.
That application fatigue starts to get real, though.
Yes. It was like day in, day out. I had my LinkedIn notifications, all kinds of notifications. Like anytime anything came in, I was like, I have to be the first one to apply. So finally, I think it was like beginning of June when I got a call from UTC Aerospace Systems, which became, let's see, Raytheon Technologies, which became Collins. No, it was, I forgot. I think it was Rockwell Collins, then Raytheon, or Collins Aerospace, then Raytheon Technologies. Anyways, lots of names changes, but got the call that middle of the summer, and they're like, hey, can we interview you? And it's really funny because like I went through the like pre-screening, and like she really didn't ask me any questions. She was just like, where are you studying, what year are you? Okay, nice talking with you. I was like, oh man, I bombed it. And then I get a call from the manager the following week, and he's like, oh, hey Kara, how's it going? He's like, what are you studying now? What do you want to do? What kind of industry are you looking for? I was like, anything, honestly, but I hear you're environmental health and safety, so I want to do environmental health and safety. He's like, okay. And it's like the following week, I just got an email saying, hey, come work for us for the summer. I was like, oh my gosh, thank goodness. So definitely just like that summer definitely taught me to really be patient and be persistent. And it was really trying because I was like, looking at all my friends, like, wow, look at them all being successful in these like super cool cities with their internships. They're making money. And like, I'm just at home taking classes, which is not a bad thing. Definitely during like, if you don't get an internship between like your freshman year and sophomore year, encourage you to take summer classes to like definitely lighten your load of classes as you continue to go on through school. But yeah, so just being persistent. And then another thing that I would do is during the school year, I would go to my professors and I was like, hey, do you know of any like internships, any opportunities? Like, what you got for me? Like every week, every day, I just sit in their office like, I'm gonna sit here until you have an opportunity.
so on that, that's not. Let's clarify that. That's let's make it clear. Being persistent is different from begging or kissing ass, as some would say.
Exactly. Yes.
And I think everyone needs to learn that. And from Kara, she did a great job of learning that, right? There's the initial setback of, again, she made a choice. She chose a major. And a lot of people go through this of where a lot of companies, as we're going through this change in the education system, new majors are popping up. We're going through and like choosing things. And if your school is not the biggest or not the most famous, or the program is not like a top 10, they don't always accept everything. And so you really got to find your way to work in there. I think she did that well. And now I think that's paid off really well for her in a lot of senses. But as you can see, persistence is key. And she also helped other people get over this, which we can talk about a little later. But continue, Kara.
So yeah, let's see. I guess another thing. So how did I get into my position is, so I talked to Josh Burnell. I met Josh Burnell and he was like, Kara, you gotta go to the NSBE conference. And I'm like, why am I going to the NSBE conference? Like, I'm just gonna throw away some money just to go to like a random city to like be with a whole bunch of people.
It was Detroit. Let's not.
Wait, the first one was Pittsburgh. Remember Pittsburgh?
The first one was Pittsburgh. I'll give you that. I didn't convince you to go to that one. That was of your own volition.
Oh, that was Rashmi, actually. Rashmi was like, here, you gotta go. I'll be there. I was like, okay, Rashmi, I'll go.
I was a freshman at that point. We barely knew each other. We only knew each other for 6 months. I can't claim that one.
Oh,
I definitely would claim the second one, but continue.
But yeah, so I got this job from the NSBE conference in 2019 in Detroit, Michigan. And so I definitely learned from the first NSBE convention that I went to the year before in Pittsburgh, because I didn't realize how many people that there would be at that convention. And then, I kind of hopped on, I think it was like a week to 2 weeks before the convention actually started. So, it wasn't late fees, but I paid like the late tickets. I had, the plane tickets were going sky high, and, all the hotel rooms were being booked. And I was like, oh my gosh, yes, I really did. And so, I guess, I was prepared for that convention, but I wasn't totally prepared because, I heard we had the Slack group chats going, and they're like, hey, everybody go to the hospitality suite. So I'm like, I don't want to go to the hospitality suite. I want to go back to sleep. And so I discourage you from trying to go back to your hotel room and going to sleep all the time, because the hospitality suites are where it's at. And so once I learned that, okay, hospitality suites are where you get to meet the managers, meet the people who work at the companies that you're interested in. You get free food, free merchandise, get to talk to whoever. And
happy hour.
Yes, it is a happy hour, because sometimes they do have drinks.
Hiring happy hour, basically.
Let me just say Microsoft, Amazon, Twitter, just throwing that out there. So, but Boeing does not do that. But what I did for Detroit, so I realized what I did wrong in Pittsburgh. Detroit, I made sure to sign up for all of these hospitality suites, put my name out there, put my resume out there beforehand. I remember weeks leading up to the convention, companies were emailing me, pre-screening, interviewing me, like before the convention even started. And so when I got to the convention, I already had some interviews lined up. I just needed to meet the managers. That was all. And so for Boeing, they have this ginormous hospitality suite. The line is like wrapping around the entire building, down the stairs, in the elevators, escalators, all over the place. I stood in that line for over 2 hours. I was so mad, My sister was there. She fell asleep somewhere in the building, and I could not find her. But I stood in that line, and I met she is my boss's boss now. And so it was really interesting, because Boeing is definitely in need of manufacturing engineers. And so whenever I walked in there, I was really scared for a second, because it looked like they started pulling specifically software engineers. Like they said, hey, all the software engineers, make a line right here. And then they like fast tracked into the ballroom.
Okay, I know that because I saw that at Bea. They do.
Yes, I was so mad. I was like, I'm not going to get in. I remember I was like, I got out to the line. It was just about, I think, maybe 10 o'clock at night. And they said, hey, we're about to start wrapping up. I was like, no. And then someone came out and said, do we have any manufacturing engineers? I was like, yes, right here. And I like went in there. I went to 2 different tables, talked to 2 different teams, and they're like, oh my gosh, we're so excited, like a manufacturing engineer, like we never hear of you guys. And I was like, well, here I am. And I kind of had the feeling when I met my current like manager's manager that when she saw me, I kind of felt that she just wanted to hire me right then and there, but she knew that she had to go through the interview process first. And so yeah, I went the next day, huh?
you just when you have that connection, you want it to be done and just get that line, sign that line.
Yeah, the next day I did the interview. I had two Boeing interviews the next day. The first one I bombed. I forgot what it was that I said wrong, but I remember I could just tell in their faces that I had said something wrong, and then they're just kind of like, "Oh yeah, we didn't like how you said this, this, this." I'm like, "Okay, well, on to my next interview. Thank you guys for your time." And so I went to the next but also, I noticed that, okay, the interview team for my second Boeing interview, there was someone that I had met the year before who was working for John Deere, but within that year between NESB conferences, they switched from John Deere to Boeing. And so I remember I was like,
Small
you
world.
look familiar. I know. It was like, you look familiar. Because I remember messaging him over LinkedIn quite a bit, just kind of like, hey, you got any internships? What's going on? And then he just completely ghosted me. But I was like, whatever. But yeah, so yes, making connections at NESB is also what helped me land this role because I feel like I already had an in with my manager's manager, Megan. But then it's just like, definitely, I know that the person that I met the year before kind of like boosted my resume as well. Because I know he talked about how we used to meet up for lunches before the pandemic, and he used to talk about how persistently annoying I was, but I was very persistent. But yeah, so that is how I got into this role. And yeah, just resume after resume change and just I don't know. I knew what I wanted and I knew what I had to do to get here. So I did my best and yeah.
And let's remember, Kara is not I'm not gonna say she's not an extroverted person in the normal sense. It takes a lot of time to build rapport, but she went out there, got her bag, and now she's in it. And just one small thing I want to mention, you were trying to decide whether you wanted to do this or go to grad school at one point.
Yes, that's true.
And so what happened there? Because I think that's a very learned experience. But let's not only talk about what happened there, but how you're now moving to get to where you want to be.
Yeah. Okay. So coming from my internship into my senior year, I was kind of like, what do I do now? Like, do I prepare to go out into the workforce or do I go to grad school? And so in the back of my mind, I was kind of like, grad school is cool because I can do my master's degree and then I can go on and do a PhD too. Because if I did go on and do a PhD, I would be like the first person in my family with a PhD. I was like, oh, I want to do that. That'd be super cool. But then the whole roadblock where it's like, okay, I wanted to study something in engineering, but then I studied something in technology and I didn't have the engineering courses. So all throughout my senior year, I was going back and forth like grad school or do I do workforce? Like which one? Because I was entertaining interviews and like job offers, but I was also entertaining going to different graduate school visits as well. And so I think it was really interesting what I did. So going, I think, into the last few weeks into my senior year, like right before graduation. So this was after NESB. I had, made my decision. I was like, okay, I'm going to go with Boeing. I'm just going to accept the offer, keep the offer on like my burners, like right here. But then I was still applying to different graduate schools as well. Like just kind of like keeping my options open kind of thing. And so let's see, I also during that fall accepted an internship position with Rolls-Royce Aviation in Indianapolis. I know it's super crazy what I was doing, but this is what I was buying my time. And so what I did is, okay, I hadn't gotten into a graduate program yet until later that summer. But what I did is I accepted the internship, started that internship in like early June. And then for Boeing, I just kind of like pushed back my start date. And I didn't tell them what I was doing. I was like, oh, a really cool opportunity came out. I, can't miss this. And they just kind of like, okay, whatever. Your start date is now like August 30th. Like, cool. All right. Thank you. And so, went through the summer, did my internship. I really enjoyed Rolls-Royce, the people, my team. I didn't really care for my tech lead that much. But what I did was, I was like, fine, I'm not having a great time with this internship, but, this just allows more time for me to think about what I want to do after this internship. And so got into the grad school, kind of. It was like, oh, you gotta take some like undergraduate coursework. And I was like, ew, like I knew this was gonna happen, but fine, I'll still entertain it a little bit. And then I talked to some mentors at Rolls Royce, and they're like, okay, so Kara, do you want to go to grad school? I was like, yeah, I think so. And they're like, or would you rather work at Boeing? I was like, yeah, I'd rather prefer that instead. It's a super cool company. And they're like, Kara, your answer's right there. Like, you gotta go work for Boeing because you sounded more excited about working for Boeing than you did for grad school. I was like, oh, really? I didn't realize that.
And this is Rolls Royce people telling you to go work for Boeing instead of grad school?
Yes. Like, they were like, we would really love. So there is the, BRGs, or what we call BRGs at Boeing. Like, okay, let's see. Employee resource groups. And so at Rolls Royce, they have what we call BEN. So that's the Black Employee Network. I think that has been the best experience with finding, people who look like me to, help mentor me throughout the summer while I was there. And so, yes, they're like, we would love to have you here at Rolls Royce, but you already have an offer from Boeing. Like, you need to take that offer from Boeing. Like, yes, St. Louis is like not the bestest city to go to, but it's still Boeing, and there are other places that you can go to. And so they said, Kara, obviously Boeing's a big company. If you want to go to grad school, they're obviously going to pay for it in some way. And like, okay, you're right. Like, fine, I'll go work for Boeing. And so that's how I made my decision. And like, yeah, so that's how I ended up here now.
And so I guess now, like, to kind of conclude, you've been through all these trials and tribulations, the setback of your major, the setback of not having experience, you were in a period of indecision where you were just trying to decide what options, but now you're a manufacturing, been out of college for what now, 2 years, are a manufacturing engineer. And so really it's kind of, now that you've made it out and now that you're in a place that some would call stability, where are kind of your next steps and how you're planning that and your ultimate goals in the long term?
Okay. So let's see. I've gone back and forth with what my ultimate goal was. Like when I was still a student at A&T, I was like, I want to be chancellor. I want to rule this school. You can't do anything unless I say so. That's cool, whatever. But now I feel like I'm starting to kind of not shy away from, but I'm starting to head into a different track outside academia. And so now I'm starting to focus more on the workforce and like, staying at Boeing long term and just trying to like figure out what I want to do. Because at Boeing, there's kind of like 3 different pathways that you can go on. And so one of them is just kind of like, my current role right now, I'm an individual contributor, by job level or whatever. And so I can continue on, be a level 5, just, still working in production, or I can go on to management, or I can go on to what we call tech fellows. And so you do research, they encourage you to get your PhD, and then they want you to become mentors and like have different patents within the company too. And so I'm like, right now I do have a mentor who is a tech fellow. And so it's like, he's exposing me to different, career paths. And so, still trying to figure out long-term what, would be cool and what I think I would want to do. But for right now, it's like, I am still looking to obtain a master's degree. And so I did have another setback in a way. Earlier this year, a lot of my friends have started their graduate degree programs. And so they all study engineering in college, and so they're all studying engineering like disciplines in their graduate programs as well. And I'm like, oh, I want to do that too. Like, how can I get in? Like, somebody connect me. So one of my friends did that, and me and their professor, or the professor is the chairman, and so we had a little conversation one Saturday morning, and he was just kind of like, oh, you don't have all the classes. And I'm like, okay, I knew that was coming. You just solidified it for me. Thank you. Moving on. And so, I went around that block. And so now I'm looking more towards engineering management because from my experiences of being president of different organizations while at A&T, I still feel like I like being a leader. I know it's kind of like, people say, Kara, you're so quiet, you're an introvert. And like, I know, yes, I am. But I still enjoy leading and just like being able to, I guess, help people. So, I want to be at the top and I want to help people to get to where they want to be later on in life with their future goals. And so that's just kind of like where I'm at right now. Like, I actually, like, after this, I'm gonna like do some research. Like, okay, what applications haven't closed yet for like engineering management real quick? So hopefully, I can get into a program for this fall, or maybe I'll just start it in the spring. Either way, but yeah. So that's where I'm at right now. I'm still definitely looking to management, and then we'll just see where I go from there. So definitely looking to change locations too, but we'll see about that.
Look, you and me both. Mass is it's no DMV, and St. Louis is no North Carolina. So
oh my goodness gracious,
we can both live with that. But as you know, that'll be the kind of end of the advising body of our letter. And now we're going to move into our PS 123s. Now, this is something we do for every guest, really every episode. So the PS 123s is focused on my personal journal and the things I focus on at the end of every day, being recognizing one piece of content I love that day, whether it be a song, a book, an episode, a podcast, but something I recognize that way. And then 2 insights I may have learned about life, myself, or the world as it be. And then 3 things I express gratitude for. So we're going to start with number 1. Do you have a piece of content for today?
A piece of content. I really want to think of like a song, but oh my goodness. Let me okay. Let's see. The last song that I was listening to on my ride back from work. So don't judge me on it. Let's see what it's called. So this is a song by Labyrinth, Sia, and Diplo. And so, what is it called? Hold on. It's called It's Time. There we go. It's Time. So, It's Time by Labyrinth, Sia, and Diplo. So, don't judge me on the meaning of it. I don't know the meaning of it. The lyrics are kind of like wonky, but I think the album is pretty cool. So,
okay. And then I guess now 2 insights you may have learned about yourself, life, the world, or your job in the today or in the week or in recent times.
Okay. So I have to give 2 of them?
2 insights. 1, 2,
okay.
3. So 2 insights.
Okay. So let's see. 1 insight would be definitely like pretty much the topic of today, how persistent I am. And so I didn't realize. So definitely I've noticed like, okay, growing up, I just kind of like let things like slide by me. I'm like, okay, I didn't get into this program, like whatever. And so now it's like, okay, now I kind of have this drive to, since I didn't get into certain things or like I have these setbacks or like roadblocks or whatever, now it's like rather than just like letting it slide and just, letting life go on, I'm just kind of like, now I want to, I guess, not find something else, but so my mom says I just don't give up on things. And I really didn't, I guess I didn't realize that I never give up on things like that until I started, started college. And then it's like, I wasn't getting to programs, wasn't getting scholarships sometimes. And like, things just weren't happening like I wanted them to. And so, I guess leading into number 2 would be to definitely be persistent about the things that you want and then don't give up, because it's like, you don't want things to just pass you by like that. You want to always, sure, you didn't get into this program, but there may be something else out there for you that may be better. And so that's one thing that I've realized too, is just like, sometimes I didn't get into a program that I really want to be in, but then I found something like Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University. And like, that was one of the colleges that I did apply to. And, I did go to their summer programs when I was in high school. And I was like, wow, that was like one of the best experiences that I went to. And, I did apply to others. I think it was like, I wanted to do the Air Force Academy, but then I didn't realize how early their application cycle opened. And then I was like, see, over at the Air Force Academy, I would have been probably doing PT at like 5 a.m., having classes, 8 a.m. to like maybe 5 at night. But Embry-Riddle, all they did was like take away my phone because they wanted me to pay attention during like the different sessions that they had us go to. And so yeah, definitely be persistent and don't give up on yourself. Because if there's no one else, no one else is going to want, I guess, you to succeed more than you. So just saying.
Okay. And then lastly, 3 things to express gratitude for.
Let's see. 3 things to express gratitude for. So, okay. I guess it would definitely be to 1, A&T. As much as, I wouldn't say I have a lot of hate for A&T. It's just kind of like, there's some things that just didn't work out, or some things that I could see they could do better. But, A&T, gave me my education and they helped me to get to where I am today. So definitely grateful for A&T. 2, definitely grateful for my parents and my family, because, even though, I don't know, it's like they helped me. So my dad paid for my education. Well, for the part that the scholarships didn't cover. So definitely grateful for him. And then he also paid for all the like extracurricular activities, and then all of the summer camps that I went to. And then my mom, she took us back and forth to those summer camps while my dad was working. So definitely appreciate them. And then 3, let's see. So I guess I am grateful for St. Louis as well, because I think about it now, and as much as I do not like this place, I do have a really great friend group, and I have, I guess, gotten to know a lot of people here who, are definitely very encouraging. And while, last year during the pandemic, it's like, okay, Kara is like 1,000 miles away from home. And so, my friends would come together, and then, that's when I noticed, okay, sure, I was really bitter about not having family in St. Louis, which is why I don't want to live here. But then I realized that the friends around me are they're my family now. So just like at A&T, I used to feel like, okay, all the way up until maybe my senior year, I had, no friends. But then all of a sudden, like senior year, I have family, just like you, Josh, and Kennedy, Rashmi, everybody. So yeah, St. Louis, it's not a bad place to be. I'll say that. So grateful for being here too.
Okay. Let me thank you again, Kara, for coming out on this episode of Letters to My Mentees. I think you gave a lot of great advice, especially on the key of being persistent, because setbacks are only temporary. Exactly. And I just wanted to remind you all, you can tune into us weekly as we introduce you to more guests like Kara, and you can find her on LinkedIn and reach out to her if you're interested in Boeing, aerospace, or just any advice on anything. But this has been another episode of Letters to My Mentees. Remember, you can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or wherever else you listen to podcasts. Remember, we are hoping you are able to learn, grow, and one day be able to create a success story that I can one day share with the world. Thank you, and see you all next week.